Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're going to be servicing the Jag. So yes, hello everyone, thank you very much for joining me once again. Now, as I said, we are going to be servicing the Jag. Now, this has actually been requested by a few people that I get this video down. I've seen guys being charged £600, £700, £800 for a full service. And, well, I've bought all the bits for £200 and they are genuine Jaguar Land Rover parts. So here is a new sump plug and that is genuine, as well as the oil filter, cabin filter, air filter, all stamped up, genuine Jaguar parts, and also my fuel filter as well. Now, the only thing I didn't go and buy direct from Jaguar was the oil. However, this is the correct specification for this engine. I've seen a lot of guys on the Facebook groups and on the forums have issues with turbos going, chains going, because somebody, an independent garage, has not used the correct oil. These are extremely delicate engines, so using the correct oil is an absolute must. And ironically, this was the most expensive part of this service kit. I bought all the bits and pieces service kit wise. I think there was about 98 quid. For the oil, I think it was about £105. You can only buy them in these 1 litre bottles, and annoyingly you need 6. So first of all, what I'm going to do is crack on with the oil change, because, well, the service intervals for these cars are 20,000 miles. Now, again, there's been a lot of incidences lately where guys are reporting noisy chain or the chain is stretched and gone. In my personal opinion, it's only my opinion, but I'm pretty sure that a 20,000 mile oil change is probably the main reason why we're now starting to see a lot of chain failures. So I've now had this car for a year. I've done about 9,000 miles and I'm going to continuously service it at about that interval. Next year I'm probably not going to go full hog and change the air filter, cabin filter and all that, but I'm definitely going to do an oil filter change probably every 10,000 miles, maybe even less. Hopefully that way you can maybe maintain things like the chain, hopefully give it a little bit of a longer life. So like I say, first thing I'm going to do, crack on with the oil change. So first, let's jack up the car. Okay, so obviously I now have a fully functioning scissor lift at my workshop. However, I wanted to make this as real world as possible, because there's no good me just sticking on a ramp and going, here's how you service a car, when in the real world you haven't got access to a service ramp or a scissor lift or a 2-post ramp or anything like that. So I'm just going to do it on a driveway. I'm going to jack it up and I'm going to put axle stands on the front. I'm going to make sure the entire front end is lifted enough for me to get underneath and get to the sump plug. Okay, so with the car jacked up just enough to get under, to be honest, I've probably been a little bit stingy with the room given myself, but obviously it's entirely up to you. But it's now secure on axle stands. What you need to do is you need to get underneath, and there are 6 bolts holding the front of the under tray under to the car. They're 10mm bolts, so what we're going to do is undo them now, and then hopefully we can then bend that down and get access to the sump plug. Okay, so I thought I'd just show you underneath. So those holes there, the back 3 bolts you need to take off, and then there are 3 bolts along the front here which you need to take off. This then pulls out the way enough that you can then drop this down. Once that's now dropped down, as you can see right there, is the sump plug. So now we can drop the oil and then just wait for it to drain. Okay, so obviously this would be a lot easier if you were to take off the entire under tray, but there's another 8 or 9 bolts going all the way back, probably just behind the driver's seat. So obviously just by dropping it down like this, it gives you just enough access to actually get the sump off Okay, so there we go. Now we'll just let that drain, and then we can put the new sump bolt on, which you always replace with these because they've got a rubber seal here which gets squished and perishes after time. So it's best to always get the new sump plug with the new seal, then you're going to have no leaks. So once the oil has finished trickling out, just grab some blue roll and just give the face of the sump a wipe. Put your new sump plug in place and then make sure it's nice and tight. With that now done, we can return the under tray back on, lower the car down, and then we can concentrate on replacing the oil filter. Okay, so the car's now back on the ground. We have now replaced the sump plug, drained the oil, car's back on the ground with the under tray back into position. Now we're going to need to tackle the oil filter. Now to do that, all you have to do is just pull this engine tray off, and your oil filter is located here. Now what you can do is buy a special tool where it's a little plate, sits on top, grips it, and then you just use a ratchet to undo it. What I'll do is I'll list a load of links in the description where I got all my service parts from, where I got my oil from, and this special tool. Now I haven't actually got this special tool, so I'm going to live dangerously and use a pair of these. Now if you do use a pair of these, it's fine, but you just need to be really careful just to undo it like that without squeezing them too hard, because you can end up cracking the outer case. Now, alright, that wouldn't be the end of the world because you can just buy a new cylinder, but for the added cost, like I say, I think those tool kits are about 15 quid or so for the oil filter wrenches. But all you have to do is just unscrew it like so. I'm going to quickly grab some blue roll and just put it all around here so we can actually take the cartridge out. Okay, so as you can now see, I've put some blue roll just around here just to stop any old oil from falling down the engine. But in all fairness, it should have drained completely. There's a one-way return valve in there. When we drain the oil, it all should have drained. So there we go, there is your oil filter. Now all you need to do is just pull it off like so, and then also in your oil filter box there will be a rubber seal which I'll grab now and we'll get that replaced. Okay, so I've got the new oil filter here. Inside the box is our new cartridge and our new O-ring. So what I'm going to do now is just grab a flathead screwdriver and just run round the old filter so you can just bring it out like so, and then just go all the way around, bin that, grab your new one, and just pop it all the way around. Make sure that it reseats in that groove there. Now I'm going to give that a quick clean up. Then grab your new cartridge. There is no right or wrong way, they are exactly the same either end. Plonk it in place and it should lock like so. Now just pop that back in. And these only require 25 newton meters, and it even says so on the top, so I'm just going to give that a little bit of a tap there. So that is the oil filter now replaced. All we need to do is top up with the oil, and that is the oil and filter change all done. So as I mentioned earlier, here is the oil for the Jaguar XE diesel. So this number here, STJLR 03.5007. This is the exact engine oil for this engine. Using anything else may well compromise your timing chain, turbo, any other items. So it's well worth spending the extra money and making sure you have the exact oil for this vehicle. As I mentioned earlier as well, you can only buy them in litre kits. And if you go onto somewhere like OP Oils, you can put your car in and it will give you the exact quantity. So I've got 6 here, and I'm pretty sure it's going to take all 6. So join me in a minute. Okay, so I've now put 5 litres in, or 5 of those little 1 litre jugs into the car. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give it a quick start, make sure that all the oil circulates, make sure there's no leaks coming from the oil filter, and then I will finish it off by topping it up to the exact level using that last 6 litre of the oil that I have. Okay, so make sure you use every last drop of the 6 litres, because as you can now see, it's absolutely spot on the line. So you need to make sure you get all the little dribbles out of the bottles, and you will be absolutely spot on. So that is the oil and filter change complete. Okay, so if you're just doing a simple oil and filter change on your Jaguar XE 2 litre diesel, then make sure you put your engine cover back on, shut the bonnet, and away you go. However, if like me, you want to go a little bit further in your service, next we're going to tackle the air filter. So stick around and we'll get that done next. Okay, so air filter replacement time. So here is your air box. Here is your new air filter. What you're going to need is a T25 Torx bit, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 T25 Torx screws. So just go around, undo all them, and then you should be able to take this cover off and just whip the old one out, put the new one in. Okay, so with all those screws removed, you should now be able to lift up the cover. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and just pop this pipe off here, because this is now going to give me a lot more movement with my box. So I say just lift it up, and you should now be able to grab your old air filter, like so. Now considering this was supposed to have had a full service by Jaguar main dealer 2 weeks before I picked it up, I'm a little bit dubious as to what they've actually done. Okay, so just like removal, grab your new air filter, make sure it's the right way around, pop it into position and make sure that the rubber edge is now seated in the box like so. Pop your cover back into place, pop the clip back on the side of the airbox, and then just redo up those 7 torque bits. Okay, so we've done the air filter, we've done the oil and filter change. There's 2 more filters left, one of which is a fuel filter. Now, I'll be honest, these can be a proper pain in the backside. So in some instances, if you haven't done a lot of these before, if you haven't done one of these at all before, maybe just get your garage to do it for the sake of 50 quid labour or whatever. Might be worth than having as much hassle as it can be. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I take all the old diesel out of the original fuel filter and put it in here. Basically, you need to try and make sure that you have filled this fuel filter with as much diesel as possible, because what will happen is you go jump in the car, you'll start it up, and because you will have to wait for this fuel filter to fill up with fuel before it starts to distribute it to the injectors and the fuel rail, you're just going to be sitting there cranking, which can cause issues with dry firing the injectors, which they don't like it because a diesel is a lubricant. I don't know if these are mechanical injectors or not. Do you know what? I should have checked that really, but anyway, if they were a mechanical diesel injector, they don't like being ran dry. You can cause air in the fuel system, which could cause you issues. So yeah, if you haven't done any of these before, then maybe just get the garage to do it. But like I say, hopefully we can actually get this changed pretty quickly and without any issues. So it's actually a little bit of a pain in the arse for you to see. Basically, it's located up here. You have these 2 fuel lines, one's a return and one's a feed. You have a ground connector on the top here, and you have an electrical connector underneath. Now, as it's sitting in the car like this, pretty much this is all you can see. So what I'm going to have to do is take off the 2 fuel lines, take off the ground connector, then this simply is clicked in to a bracket. Here is where it slots in. You've got a push thing here, 2 slots there. So then what you're going to do is bring that up, unplug the electrical connector, and then like I say, I'm going to transfer the diesel from that one into this one. Okay, so before I race off and take this out, because I'm now ready to remove it, I thought I'd just run you through the procedure. So here is the fuel filter. You have the 2 hoses. So you've got this one on the left here, is literally held in with that little yellow tab. Get a screwdriver and just push that yellow tab in, pull this pipe out. That then comes out. Now the one on the right was an absolute pain in the backside. You have this weird looking hose. So this little metal piece sits inside it, so you need to pull that out, and then you need to like lift this out as much as you can to then pull it out. But before you do that, there's this weird metal bracket. This end sits inside that groove there, and then this top end here butts up against that pit of the filter there, so it keeps it nice and secure. So you need to just like wiggle that off. Once you have removed this hose pipe, you need to remove that pipe first, because otherwise there's no room. But then, yeah, so first of all, remove that, and then do what I said about this clip here, then that's done. Now, to remove the actual fuel filter is a little bit of a nightmare, but it can be made quite easy. So here, there's a bolt here, which is a 10mm bolt, which I've taken out. That is part of the bracketry that sits the fuel filter in place. There's another 2 bolts just down the side there. What I've done is I've just removed that one, pushed it forward, and that's enough for me to get a flathead screwdriver in there and push this tab, which has now enabled me to lift it out. Now you need to remove just that clip from the side there, which is holding some wiring on. Then once you get a certain height up, you need to then remove the electrical connector that's on the bottom of the fuel filter. Okay, so here is the old fuel filter. So like I said, it was really nice and simple to actually get out once you've got there. Now what I'm going to do is, like I said earlier, I'm going to literally pour, you can feel the weight difference, you can feel it's full of diesel. I'm going to pull this diesel into this new filter. That way I should have no issues when it comes to restarting it. Okay, so here you go, the fuel filter is now all back together. So into that little recess there, and then over the top there. You'll notice when it's all in, because it really does clip it in and it holds it all together. Then you just push that in, everything back together, that bolt now back in place. So like I say, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start the car up, give it some revs, keep the revs going for about 2 minutes or so. It may cut out, it may die, but if that's the case, then we'll just restart it, and hopefully, yeah, we wouldn't have too many issues. So now we have done the oil filter, air filter and fuel filter. As you noticed when I started up then, it took a little while for it to go, take a little while for the fuel to fill up the fuel filter, make sure that all the lines are then filled, all the air's gone. So after a few cranks, it eventually started, gave it a good rev, everything seems good. So there's only one more filter left to go, and that is the cabin filter. Now, I know full well that some of these don't get changed. So it's always worthwhile. I think these are like a tenner if you were to buy one separately. If you start getting some nasty odours, bits flying out of the vents, chances are it's this. So give this a change. We'll get cracking on this now. Okay, so for the cabin filter, or pollen filter, some people call them, this is going to be an absolute nightmare of a task. I hate doing these. So best thing to do would be to pull this trim off first. And now we need to get this side panel off. I'm going to try and just use my fingers so I don't have to use a tool or anything. Like that. Pull that off. Now the cabin filter is actually located behind this glove box, and there are, I believe there are 10 T25 or T27 Torx bits up here and then underneath, and then that should now bring the glove box down and we can get access to the cabin filter. So just grab my T27 and T25, and then we'll start taking the Torx bits out, and then we'll go from there. Quickly show you where all the screw holes are to remove the glove box, as it's going to be a lot easier like this than when it was in the car, because I tried to film it and it makes life really difficult. So inside the glove box you have 2 screws, one there, one there. You also have 3 screws here, 1, 2, 3, and they go just here along the edge of the dash. You then have another 2 screws in this side panel. So when you remove this side panel, you just want to move this little rubber seal out, and then you can literally grab your fingers or a plastic trim tool, and you just pull it away. Then that pops off. And then what you've also got is 3 screws underneath the glove box, which go here, here, and there. So if you were to be looking underneath the glove box, 1, 2, 3. With all them removed, you then just have to move this little plastic tab out, because there's a locating little nipple type thing there. So once you pull that out, this then can literally drop out, which is what I've just done now. So now with that out of the way, all you need to do is grab these little tabs, pull it out, do it the same on each one, and now you should be able to just push that back. And now, as you can see, there was a load of leaves and stuff just fell out of there. Not horrendous, but definitely worthwhile replacing. There you go, look, you can see all the dust and everything inside there. So what we need to do is this plastic thing, like, just pop that out. Do you see all that dust come out then? So just pop that out, and as you can see on the old filter, it actually gives you the location. So with that now removed, let me just grab my new filter. Okay, so the new filter, and on one of the sides, there we go, it says up. So you just need to make sure you put it in the right way round in the actual plastic. It even tells you, look, up. Put it in the right way round. You need to just get it underneath these locating tabs. There's 2 on each side. It's actually quite difficult trying to do this with just one hand. So there we go, that's that side in. Spin it round, and then do the same on this side. There we go. So now we just need to slide that back into place, and there are some little rail type things on the bottom, so you need to make sure that it does go in properly. You can just see at the bottom there that there's some like rails where they sit in. Like so. So that is in there. You can just see down the edge there that it's nice and flush. So now let's just grab this piece, and again I'm going to put it on exactly how I took it off, one side at a time. Again, there is some like locating tabs, which for some reason that side doesn't want to go in. There we go, and you can hear them click in. So that is now in. Now we just need to put the glove box back in, and then I'll turn the ignition on and make sure that it's now circulating nicely. Make sure we haven't caused any issues, and then that's pretty much the service done. So let's get the glove box back in. Okay, so there we go, all back together. Like I say, just pop this side piece on once all the screws are in, then just push the trim back in place. Make sure all your screws are done up nicely and all underneath here, and that's the service pretty much done. Okay, so there we go, a major service completed on the Jaguar XE 2-litre diesel. Now obviously I've managed to save myself a considerable sum of money. I've seen guys being quoted £600, £700, £800 for the service I've just now carried out, and all the bits only cost me £200, and I've been working on it for about 2 hours. However, there are some major drawbacks to what obviously I've just done now. First of all, I can't update the service history online. So if I was to sell the car in 3, 4, 5 years time, whoever bought it would consider that I haven't actually serviced the vehicle, which sucks. Second of all, obviously, as I did right now, I didn't do any other checks. I didn't check the tyre pressures, tread depths, brakes. Now obviously for me that's fine, because I know that I've just recently done all the disc and pads, I've replaced all the all tyres, But obviously, if you were to just do what I've done right now without doing any other checks, it's not a good idea. But if you were to just do what I did at the beginning of the video and just do a straightforward oil and filter change, you could end up prolonging the life of the cam chain, turbo, bits and pieces like that. So it definitely has its, you know, pluses and minuses. Just basically do whatever you want to do to your own vehicle. For me, I will definitely at least change the oil and filter every 10,000 miles. I think the 20,000 mile service schedule that Jaguar have given these cars is a contributing factor to why the cam belts or the cam chains are starting to go and that the turbos are starting to fail. So obviously there's risks involved with doing your own work as well. If you've got a vehicle that's still in warranty, you could well void it. Obviously for me this is a 65 plate, so it's well beyond any warranties that I had even as a second-hand car. So for me this is absolutely a winner-winner, perfect situation. Like I say, the only thing for me would be to resale it. There is no proof of me doing it. I can tell them to go look at YouTube, but obviously that's not a proper service schedule. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope this helps. Even if you just replace the cabin filter yourself, I hope that this video definitely helps you in some way. If it does, please hit that likes button and also hit that subscribe button. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.